I first started writing with that project, and that project, let me tell you, that project blew the heck up in my 4th grade class. Like, hey guys, it's Deb, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the Authortube Newbie Tag because I'm an Authortube newbie. This tag was originally created by Jenna Streety, whose information I'll put in the description box, along with a list of all of the questions. So, I got my questions, I got my blue iced tea, Percy Jackson is quaking, we are ready to go. The first question is, how did you hear about Authortube? And the answer is through desperation. I was writing my first novel and I was looking for people who were in the same boat as I was, people who were writers, who didn't have everything figured out, who weren't necessarily famous and published with 20 books on their shelves, you know, people that I could relate to, people who are going through the same struggle that I was. And then I found Authortube and I fell in love with the community. I can't talk. I fell in love with the community. I started watching more and more Authortubers. I believe the first video that I watched was a Shaylin Wrights video, and then I got into like Jenna Moreci, Vivian Reese, Kate Kavanaugh, all of those Authortubers, and I really, really enjoy the community that like Authortube is. So, number 2, what genres do you write in? If I'm being completely honest, the only thing that I've ever like finished has been like in the fantasy genre. But I want to try my hand at mystery. I want to try my hand at like contemporary. So although I've done fantasy in the past, and although my current work in progress is a fantasy novel, I'm also interested in contemporary and mystery. Number 3, what is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Children's, young adult, new adult, etc. So I generally write in young adult and new adult. Recently I've been dabbling more in new adult and I really enjoy it. I like the freedom that it gives you that young adult doesn't necessarily. And as for right of tense, as for preferred writing tense and point of view can be either first person or third person. I've written in both and I see value in both, but writing tense is always past tense. I can't somehow crack the like present tense. Like I can't figure out how to write good present tense in a way that's like satisfactory to me. So yeah, past tense. Number 4, are you a plotter, pantser, or plantser? I am a plantser. I thought I was a pantser. I thought I was a pantser first. And I wrote a couple novels completely pantsing it and I hated it. I needed some sort of direction. So then I went to the other extreme and I thought that I was a plotter. So I plotted down everything down to like what the dialogue was going to be like, what the tones of the characters were going to be like. And I hated that too because it didn't give me enough creative freedom. So now what I do is I plan the what but not the how. And in that sense, I maintain some structure to my story while still being able to make things up as I go. Number 5, are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? I am yet to be published. I was nearly self-published when I was younger. So glad I saved myself from that mistake because it was crap, but I haven't been published yet. A goal of mine is to be published in my life at some point, obviously, but hopefully before I'm 30. I'd like to be published before I'm 30. Cross fingers. Number 6. What publishing agent Sorry, I'm literally dumb. What publishing company, literary agent, and or printing company are you represented by or use? If you're not yet published, what is your dream publishing house and or literary agent? So I don't really have one at the moment. I don't see the point in like jumping the gun and doing research on that when I don't even have something that can be published. Number 7, what Authortube related videos can we expect to find on your feed? Anything that interests me, I guess. I am really into like writing vlogs and writing experiments, kind of like what Kate Kavanaugh does. That stuff is really, really interesting to me, but I also like top 10 lists, like talking about tropes. I've planned a series where I'm going to be dissecting my favorite like antagonists, favorite protagonists, etc. in fiction and finding out what makes them great. I also planned a couple of videos where I'm going to be doing like writing games and reading cringy writing with people, so it's kind of a little bit of everything. Number 8, when did you start writing? Maybe when I was like, well, I was in 4th grade. So how old must I have been then? So I think you're 9 or 10 in 4th grade. When I was 9 or 10, I remember in 4th grade, I wrote this story called Kate and Peter that was about, I don't think there's anyone watching this that remembers this, throwback. It was about these high schoolers named Kate and Peter who, it was like a love story between them, and I lost it because I did it on my school's Microsoft Word and it got lost, but it's so iconic. I remember there's this scene where she was like walking on the bus and the bus lurched and she fell right into the seat next to him. That's romantic stuff right there. Oh my god. And then I first started writing with that project, and that project, let me tell you, that project blew the heck up in my 4th grade class. Like, everyone wanted some Kate and Peter in their life. Sadly, that has been the peak of my prominence as an author. I'm hoping one day to regain some of my former Kate and Peter glory, but yeah, that was the first thing that I wrote. I wrote my first, like, proper novel, like my first NaNoWriMo project when I was 13, but that's definitely not when I started writing. I started writing with Kate and Peter. God, remember your roots, man. Number 9. Oh my god, I didn't even see the question. Number 9 is, what's the first story you wrote? Kate and Peter is the first story that I wrote. But since I already talked about Kate and Peter earlier, I'll talk about my first NaNoWriMo story, I guess, because that's equally as iconically bad. So I was 13 and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a serious author now. I'm going to write my first ever NaNoWriMo. So I got down and I decided that was like one of the things that I was going to pants. I keep mixing them up for some reason, although they're not even remotely similar. Anyways, that was the first novel. I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to pants this, and it's going to be spectacular. And I sat down and I wrote it, and it was this story about a young girl in like Scandinavian-inspired kingdom, and everyone was like Scandinavian. They all had blonde hair and blue eyes, and they spoke like a language similar to Norse. And the question is, am I Scandinavian? No. Was I close with anyone that was Scandinavian that could have helped me? No. Did I do any necessary research into Scandinavia to figure out how to do this? No. And it really showed in the project. It was terrible. I do have that, and I might read that in a future date, like a cringy reading of that. So if you guys want to see that, let me know. But that was the first like novel that I wrote. Number 10. What authors have inspired your writing the most? I love this question. I actually really love this question. So first is Jonathan Safran Foer. It's not really the genre that I write in, but I just love his writing style. So I first watched Everything's Illuminated, and I love the story, and then I went back and I decided I wanted to read the book, and I realized the book was way better than the movie was, even though the movie was still good, because it's just the way that he writes. Like, he has this entire, without getting into like too many spoilers, because everyone should read Everything is Illuminated, as well as the rest of his books, but there's just this section where this horrible, terrible thing is happening, and a character is recounting that event, and it just, the words, like, it starts out like in italics, and then it starts going from like proper capitalization to all small letters, and it starts all blending together. It's beautiful. Like, it's like the visible, like, physical representation of this character's trauma as the way that the words are written on the page. I can't even describe it, but it was incredible. And that really inspired me to start experimenting with making the content visible through the form, if that makes sense. Number 2 was Rick Riordan, for 2 reasons. First is that he has this really distinct tone. Like, it's snarky and sarcastic and really accessible to people who maybe don't read as often or who are young and get entertained by this type of thing. And also because he writes characters who are diverse, but that diversity is only a small part of what makes them a great character. I think that we need more authors like that. That was my first introduction as a child to more diverse characters, and I feel like that's really powerful for children to see. And lastly, Saba Tahir. So, I read An Ember in the Ashes like a year ago, and it single-handedly dragged me by my ankles out of a 5-year reading slump. Like, I kid you not, I had not read a single book that I enjoyed for a long-ass time, and that book saved me. I'm not even kidding. It's so good. It's so well done. I love the complexity of the characters. I love everything about it. I literally cannot stop gushing. But I especially love how she created these characters that are well developed and interesting and also look like me, you know? It's the first time that I've seen characters that I can relate to, that I love and appreciate and root for, that also look like me. And that has been so important to me as a reader. And I realized that as a writer, I want to be able to give kids that feeling as well, especially kids who aren't used to book characters in the fantasy genre looking like them. Although I do think that's changing, and I'm very excited about that change. So we're heading to question 11 now, and that is, do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you can find the time? That really depends on how much time I have and what my other things in my life look like. So if I have school going on, I'll just write whenever I find the time, especially during exam season, because I'm worried that my grades will slip if I dedicate chunks of my day to writing. But ideally, the first, always the first. Number 12. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, write everything out by hand, or use a blend of those? And where do you write in general? I wish I could write in typewriter. The closest I'll ever get is the typewriter function on Scrivener, which I use to write. So I type on a computer, I type on Scrivener specifically, and I usually write 60% of the time at home, 20% of the time at the library, and then maybe like 10% of the time at a coffee shop, and then 10% of the time like on the go. I love to write on the go. I love to write on planes for some reason. I think there's something so romantic about writing on the go. I don't know. I love it. Anyways, the final question. What are you looking forward to now that you are a part of Authortube? I think easily the community. I think that the reason that I joined in the first place was to be surrounded by this amazing community that I fell in love with to begin with, and I definitely want to be a part of that community. I'm also looking forward to humiliating myself on the internet. This stuff stays forever, and I'm really excited about that. So I joined Authortube for the community. That's definitely why I'm here and what I'm looking forward to. So that's it. That was the Authortube writing tag. I hope that you learned a little bit about me, and I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm excited to have an Authortube account now, finally. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. I make new videos every Tuesday, and I will see you in the future. Bye! That was lame. That was such a lame bye. Bye! There, it's less lame.